My child, listen to me. I have watched the battle around you, the unseen struggle that's tried to silence your hope, the heaviness that comes when you can't even explain what's wrong. You felt the pull between light and shadow, love and fear, peace and chaos. You felt me near, and yet sometimes you've wondered why the answers seem delayed, why the door stays closed even when you're praying at its threshold. Hear me now, it was never because I didn't love you. It was because dark forces have tried to hold back what I've already declared yours, asterisk asterisk. But that ends tonight. The chains that tried to bind you, chains of fear, shame, confusion, and spiritual exhaustion, are shaking even now. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but your spirit knows it. You feel the stirring, the pressure, the trembling deep inside. That's the sound of breakthrough. That's the sound of walls collapsing and chains snapping. Because I, your God, am moving. And when I move, nothing, not the powers of darkness, not the lies of the enemy, not even your own doubts, can stand in my way. For too long the enemy has whispered lies into your mind, trying to convince you that I am far away, that your prayers go unheard, that your pain is your identity. He wants you to believe I am silent. But I am not silent. I am speaking louder than ever, through the fire of your trials, through the cracks in your heart where my light is breaking through. I have seen what you've been fighting, and I am not standing by. I am stepping in. My child, you must understand, there is a war around you that is not of flesh and blood. The darkness that presses on your heart is not your imagination. It is the residue of a war between truth and lies, between love and fear. But the victory is already written. The enemy fights not because he can win, but because he fears what will happen when you realize that you already have. You carry my spirit, and that spirit cannot be chained. You carry my name, and that name cannot be silenced. Tonight, I am breaking the hold of every force that's tried to keep you from feeling my presence. The fear that wakes you in the night, I am silencing it. The guilt that repeats in your thoughts, I am erasing it. The shame that made you hide, I am burning it away. For I did not create you to crawl beneath the weight of lies, I created you to walk in light, to lift your head and see me standing beside you, even in the storm. There are those who want to convince you that the darkness is stronger. That the pain will win. That the world has gone too far. But hear me, darkness cannot overcome light, it only reveals its need for it. The very pressure you feel is proof that the light in you is growing. The resistance you face is proof that the enemy sees what's coming. You are not losing, you are on the edge of deliverance. Do not believe the voices that say I have forgotten you. Every tear you've cried has been counted. Every prayer you've whispered has been carried to my throne. Even the ones you thought were too small, too desperate, too broken, I heard them all. And I have been working in the silence, setting the stage for what comes next. For what the enemy meant to destroy, I am about to use as your testimony. The chains that held you will become the proof of my power, the scars that show where love won. I know the nights have been long. I know there are moments you felt surrounded, not by light, but by confusion, fear, temptation, or despair. But look closer, child, the darkness that surrounded you was not closing in, it was trembling, because I was there too. Even when you could not feel me, I was standing between you and what tried to destroy you. Every attack that came against you had to pass through my presence first, and I did not allow it to take what matters most: your purpose, your soul, your destiny. You have felt the pull, between hope and hopelessness, between faith and fear. That is the sign that you are standing at the doorway of change. The enemy fights hardest when he knows he is about to lose. And tonight, he loses. Tonight, I am breaking the chains that have held you back, not just in your circumstances, but in your mind. For the real prison is not what surrounds you, but what whispers inside you. And I am setting that mind free. You will feel peace return. You will feel the lightness again. You will remember joy, not as a distant memory, but as a fire inside you. I am restoring your laughter, your confidence, your sense of purpose. I am not just freeing you from something, I am freeing you for something: a life that carries light wherever you go, a voice that speaks healing into the wounded, a heart that knows it was loved through the darkest night. Do not let fear have the last word. Do not let the memories of failure define what I am doing now. For I am not the God of your past mistakes, I am the God of your next miracle. The enemy wants you to replay the old scenes of shame, but I am writing a new chapter tonight. The story shifts here. The night ends here. The power that tried to hold you, it breaks here. So stand still for a moment, my child. Breathe. You feel that warmth in your chest? That's not imagination. That is my spirit, reminding you that I am near. The darkness is not winning, it is breaking. The weight is lifting. The light is rising. And by this time tomorrow, what felt unmovable will begin to move. You will see signs of breakthrough, doors opening, peace returning, unexpected joy stirring again. For I am faithful, and I do not forget my own. You stand at the edge of night, and the air is changing. The silence that once felt heavy now trembles with promise. Somewhere within it, a low hum begins, the sound of light gathering its strength. It moves through the roots of the earth, through the places where hope once hid, through the smallest corners of your heart. You can feel it, it is the breath of a new beginning. The darkness does not vanish in one instant. It retreats, slowly, as if reluctant to surrender. Yet every breath you take pushes it farther away. The same lungs that once sighed in despair now draw in courage. The same eyes that looked for endings now search for dawn. You are learning again how to stand, how to speak, how to believe that love was never lost, only waiting to be remembered. Look around you, the world is still scarred, but beneath every scar is a pulse. The pulse of creation, still beating, still whispering that life is sacred. You are part of that pulse. You were never outside of it, never forgotten by it. Even when storms drowned your prayers, the pulse kept calling your name in ways you could not hear. And now, as the first light rises, you begin to understand that freedom does not come from the absence of struggle but from the discovery of strength within it. The chains that once bound you have become lessons written in metal and fire. You can still feel their weight, but they no longer own you. They are only reminders, proof that light can inhabit even iron. A voice, quiet, unwavering, echoes inside you: love was never defeated. It only waited for you to stop running from it. So you stop. You breathe. And something shifts. The fear that once felt like a second skin begins to fall away. The thoughts that accused you lose their sharpness. There is a warmth behind your ribs, steady and patient, whispering that you were made for more than survival. You were made to create light. The world will still tremble. Shadows will still pass across your path. But you will not mistake them for truth. You will remember that darkness is only the space where light learns to speak louder. You will remember that hope does not need evidence, only willingness. And when you walk forward from this moment, the ground itself will seem softer beneath your feet, because it recognizes what you carry. You carry the evidence of love's endurance, the quiet miracle of having stayed alive through the storm. Every step becomes an act of defiance against despair. Every breath becomes a hymn. The chains are gone. What remains is strength, tempered, luminous, unstoppable. The night recedes completely now. It does not vanish, it folds itself away, humbled before the steady rise of morning. You stand in its afterglow, breathing air that feels different, cleaner, gentler, new. The air remembers your struggle, and it carries the scent of rain on the soil of things reborn. For a long time you believed that freedom would come like thunder, with great noise and spectacle. But now you see that freedom is quieter. It begins as breath. It grows as forgiveness. It blooms when you decide not to carry the old weight any longer. The greatest miracles happen without witnesses, they take place in the space between one heartbeat and the next. You start to notice light in places where you never looked before, in the curve of a leaf, in the laughter of a stranger, in the rhythm of your own footsteps. The world begins to answer you differently, because you are meeting it with open hands. This is what renewal feels like, the same world, but seen through eyes washed in mercy. You find yourself thinking about others now, the ones still trapped in their own shadows. You remember the voices that reached you when you were sinking, and you feel the call to become one of them. Not a preacher, not a savior, but a companion. Someone who knows how to listen. Someone who knows that love speaks best when it doesn't need to be loud. You realize that the chains that once held you were never just yours. They were shared, invisible links of fear and silence stretching across generations. Each time you choose kindness over bitterness, a piece of that ancient chain breaks. Each time you forgive, the metal thins. Each time you speak gently, light passes through the gap and keeps widening it. The renewal begins to ripple outward. It reaches the people near you, the small corners of your daily life, the way you speak to a weary friend, the patience you show a stranger, the courage you lend to someone who has forgotten their own. This is how light conquers darkness, not with a single shout, but with 1,000 quiet acts of compassion that refuse to die. And when the old doubts return, for they always do, you will remember this: darkness is not an enemy to be feared, but a reminder to keep your lamp lit. Even the deepest night bows to one steady flame. Keep that flame, even when the wind howls. Protect it, feed it with truth, with gratitude, with every small joy that proves you are still alive. The breath of renewal is not a single moment. It is a way of living, an endless returning to light. Every morning you rise, you are breaking another link of the unseen chain that tried to hold you. Every time you choose to love, you are rebuilding the world itself, piece by piece, breath by breath. The light keeps widening until it is no longer something you stand within but something that flows through you. The division between self and sky blurs, breath becomes prayer without words. You see how everything is connected, the wind through the trees, the pulse in your wrist, the way strangers cross paths as if drawn by invisible threads. This is not coincidence, it is the architecture of love. Every person you meet carries a flicker of that same light, though many have forgotten it. You begin to notice the subtle signals of hunger, not for food, but for hope. The weary eyes of someone holding too much pain, the small, nervous laugh that hides loneliness, the silence of those who fear being unseen. You recognize it because you have known it. Compassion becomes instinct, understanding becomes strength. You start to act differently. Not out of obligation, but out of recognition. You see the divine spark in ordinary faces, the mechanic with oil-stained hands, the woman rushing for the last bus, the child watching raindrops slide down a window. They are all fragments of the same creation that once called you home. You realize the world was never abandoned, it only waited for hearts brave enough to care again. Light spreads quietly through small choices. You speak truth where lies once felt safer. You give when no one is watching. You forgive without needing an apology. Each act is a thread of gold, weaving a pattern stronger than despair. The world begins to change, not suddenly, but inevitably. People see in you the reflection of something they had forgotten in themselves, and they begin to kindle their own flames. The transformation is not without struggle. There are still shadows, systems built on greed, voices raised in cruelty, hearts closed in fear. Yet even here, love persists. It moves like water through stone, finding cracks, creating pathways where none existed. It whispers that no night lasts forever, that even the hardest soil yields to the seed when it is time. And so the world rekindles itself, one heart at a time. You notice laughter returning to streets where it once felt out of place. You see hands reaching out rather than closing into fists. The same light that freed you now travels beyond you, multiplying in ways you will never fully see. That is its nature, it does not belong to you, it moves through you. You understand now that deliverance was never only about your own soul. It was the beginning of a wider awakening, a reminder that every healed person becomes a healer, every forgiven heart becomes a vessel of mercy. The universe itself breathes easier when one life remembers how to love. The chains are not gone from the world, but they are weaker. They tremble when kindness walks by. They fracture when truth is spoken. They shatter when enough people choose light over indifference. This is how the darkness finally yields, not to power, but to presence. You walk forward into the morning, and the ground is still imperfect, but it glows faintly beneath your feet. You realize that holiness was never something distant, it was always here, waiting to be noticed. Every sunrise, every heartbeat, every quiet act of care, all of it part of the same endless breaking of chains. The light has settled now. It is no longer an event, it is a presence. You do not chase it or guard it or name it. You simply breathe, and it is there. The same breath that once trembled with fear now moves evenly through you, a quiet rhythm that says, I am here, I am alive, I am enough. The world still turns. Storms still come. Yet something inside you remains steady while they pass. You begin to see that peace is not the absence of noise but the ability to hear a softer music beneath it. The world hums with that hidden tune, wind through branches, rain on glass, the murmur of people beginning again. You add your note to that symphony simply by existing without bitterness. When pain returns, and it will, you meet it differently. You do not run from it, you listen. Pain has become a teacher rather than a threat. It reminds you of how far you have come, of the strength that grew in the dark, of the love that endured even when you doubted it. You thank it, and it leaves quietly, its lesson complete. You walk through your days with a gentler gravity. You notice more than you speak. You see beauty where others rush past, the way light bends through a cracked window, the way strangers share a moment of laughter, the way the sky turns to gold just before evening. Gratitude becomes effortless. Every breath feels like a prayer you didn't know you were saying. At times you pause and remember the chains. They no longer frighten you, they remind you. They are the proof that light can dwell even in iron, that hope can survive captivity. You realize that nothing was wasted, not the tears, not the waiting, not the silence. All of it was shaping you into someone who can hold peace without breaking it. And then, quietly, you sense something larger than yourself breathing with you. It is not a voice or a vision, but an awareness, the way sunlight rests on water, the way warmth fills a room. It says nothing new, only what you always needed to hear, * you were never alone. You were always loved, *. That knowledge changes everything. It is not a surge of emotion but a deep, enduring calm. You know that the same love that restored you flows outward, touching lives you may never meet. It moves through conversations, through acts of courage, through every choice that favors kindness over fear. This is how creation heals itself, one awakened heart at a time. Night will come again, as it always does, but now you understand that darkness has no final claim. It is the canvas upon which light renews its promise. You carry that promise within you. Wherever you go, it goes with you, steady, luminous, patient. So walk gently through the world. Speak honestly. Love without calculation. When you stumble, rise slowly, the earth itself will lift you. When others falter, offer them your light without fear of losing it. There is enough for everyone. There always was. And when the day ends, when silence settles over everything, you will feel that quiet presence again, the one that guided you through fire and shadow. It will whisper only this: rest now. The chains are broken. The world is turning toward the light, and so are you.